worst drop in living standards for decades, and the undisguised contempt shown by the Tory government towards the plight of the lower paid, the council elections provided a great opportunity for Labour to fight back on behalf of working class people across the country. Labour and trade union activists all over the country will have delighted in seeing the defeat of hundreds of Tory councillors in these elections. 338 Tories were booted out in England and 86 in Wales alone. Scotland saw 63 Tories removed. In the elections for the Northern Ireland Assembly, Sinn Féin won the most seats, the first time a nationalist party has been the main party. This is a historic event which we'll cover in another video. Labour campaigners in London will justifiably celebrate winning 3 councils from the Tories. Wandsworth Council in South London, Thatcher's favourite council, had been Tory since 1978 and was finally taken by Labour after they came within an agonising 200 votes of doing so under Corbyn in 2018. All 3 parliamentary seats in the area had already been won by Labour, the latest, Putney, in 2019. Westminster Council, Tory since it was founded in 1964 and famous for gerrymandering and using housing policy to reduce working class votes in key wards, fell to Labour after the Tories lost 13 seats. Barnet, where the Tories prided themselves on being the Etsy Council, a pioneer of outsourcing council funds, finally fell. Outside of London, only a handful of councils were won elsewhere in England. Southampton, Kirklees in West Yorkshire, Worthing in Sussex, and the new Unitary Authority of Cumberland. Not all councillor positions were up for election, so polling experts project a national share on the votes where that did take place. In England compared to 2018, they show Labour made small gains in London, stayed static in the south, and went down by 3 points in the North and Midlands. Overall, with a projected share of 35%, Labour is no further forward than Corbyn was in 2018. The TV studios have been full of senior supporters of Sir Keir Starmer parroting the same agreed phrases, hailing this as a turning point after the disaster of Corbyn. But sadly, the obvious spin just does not stand up to scrutiny. It is outside London that this truly dismal performance can be seen most clearly. Sure, Labour won seats in 1 or 2 of some of the districts, but faced with the most savage attack on workers' living standards for generations, with a government reeking with dishonesty and corruption, with appalling racist and authoritarian bills going through Parliament, and thousands of needless deaths to COVID, Labour actually lost seats. Labour councils lost out to Greens, Liberal Democrats, and independents in Bradford, Sheffield, Newcastle, South Tyneside, Sunderland, and Birmingham. The Liberal Democrats regained control of Hull City Council from Labour. In Tameside in Greater Manchester and Sandwell in the West Midlands, it lost seats to the Tories. It failed to make any significant gains in a whole number of so-called red wall seats, where the party need to win the majority of parliamentary seats. Under the leadership of Mark Drakeford, Labour had very good success in Wales. Mark Drakeford, who was a supporter of Jeremy Corbyn and seen with a bolder, more radicalised programme. Welsh Labour gained 66 seats, while the Tories collapsed, losing 44% of their supporters. The Tories no longer control a single council in Wales. Labour won 3 times as many seats in Wales as it did in the whole of England. Labour needs a socialist programme to stop the attacks on the party membership. The Labour Party remains the party that working class people look to. Even after the right-wing attacks on the Labour Party, the small left groups did not show any change in credibility, normally receiving less than 300 votes per candidate as against thousands for the Labour Party. For every disillusioned activist, there are hundreds more who want to end the rule of the Tories and get some respite, however small, from the attacks on their living standards. They may not think much will change, but they want the Tories out as a minimum. It is the role of the Socialists to support these desires, to put Labour into power and demand real change to the lives of working people. Socialist demands will appeal not just to more advanced or impatient workers who have already seen through the failures of the right wing, but also to larger and larger layers of the working class, inside and outside of the Labour Party. We need to build support in every workplace, every union, every community campaign or protest movement. We have to convince all sections of the working class, white collar or service workers or factory workers, precarious, 0 hours workers, as well as well-organized industrial workers, women, men, whatever race, nationality, whatever sexuality or gender identity. We call upon those who are already impatient for change to join with us in building support for the socialist ideas needed to transform society. Organize within the labor movement, organize out of the labor movement, create a united front. We must come together, socialists. Follow us for more at our website, www.lefthorizons.com. Sign up to our newsletter and take part in real socialist change.